When I first saw Cactus Jack, he was sad. He didn't talk much because I'd met all the residents, and he was very quiet. And him and his wife were always together. So we were talking, and I had an activity I was doing. He was coming back from dialysis, which he has to do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So he came in and he got his lunch, and I was doing an activity, and I was naming off some things. Well, he kept answering them in the background. So I turned and I smiled and I said, "You're right," and he got a smirk on his face. And I thought, okay, that was a little reaction. And then later I talked to his wife, and she said something about Cactus Jack. And I went up and I said, I said, "You're Cactus Jack." And big smile on his face. And I learned that years ago when I was in my 20s, I bought some things from Cactus Jack. It was a covered wagon, and I brought him up here for him to see, and he was thrilled. So I kind of visited with him a little bit about the store and asked him some things about his life, and he had talked about his bird dogs. So I thought, I'm going to make him resident of the month and also do the memory moment with him because I thought he was perfect.
Well, we met in school. Our school had burned down, and so they moved all of them from a little town called Duster into De Leon. And we were 13 years old. And when I saw her, I said, "That's the gal for me." And so I finally got a date with her. She wasn't needed, but met with 13 and married with 17. Been married 68 years. And I worked at the post office about 25 years, and we started this Western store before I retired. And she ran it for a while, then it got big enough. We had to hire some people, and it has just grown into a 10,000 square foot building. And we still can't have room to get everything in it, But it's done well for us.
He had talked about Cactus Jack, his store, and his dogs, so I saw the passion in his face and in his eyes about when he talked about his dogs. And I asked if he still had the dogs, and he said no. And I thought, perfect. So I called and got some information on the bird dogs. So a wonderful group of gentlemen came in, brought 2 dogs.
Hi, sir. Well, thanks for inviting us. I'm going to be the narrator because I've got the loudest voice. Now, I'm old enough to remember when you put a wing on a stick to train a dog, and I think that's probably the way you did it. Brought you a few pheasant feathers from South Dakota from last year. Oh, nice. These 2 dogs hunted over 150 pheasant last year. They both did remarkably well. You can see that this dog's quite a bit better than that.
To train a dog, you have to put train them with a feather. You try to get a quail feather, and you have it on a fishing rod with string, and you cast it out, say 20 feet, and the little pups are just, it's just built in them to point.
This method of using the wing, what you would do is you would either put it on fishing line, and I'm sure that you had done that before, but you would trace it around the yard, and then you would have the dog follow the scent. So now we use what's called a woe method, and you can see the dog has 2 collars on, one on the neck and one on the flank. And Blake's going to show you how that dog will respect the point. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa. Good job, boy Tex. Good boy Tex.
That was very interesting, very interesting. They brought 2 bird dogs, and they had the feather on the string just like I had talked about, and they threw that feather out. The dogs went to it and pointed, and it was really interesting to see that they did it just like I did it. It was And the dogs were very well kept and very well trained, you could tell. Well, I'm very surprised, and I didn't know this was going to happen, and I'm very thankful.
When the dogs came in, that look was priceless. I mean, I can't even begin to say, and his family members were so happy. So I feel like we're giving something to the residents and to the family members, such a keepsake to have forever and for their grandchildren to see. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing.